Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today I will be starting the first chapter of your course Merger and Acquisition, which is a specialization course of finance. But before starting this chapter, we have to first identify what is a merger and acquisition, and what are the basic purpose of these kind of activities. So when we talk about merger and acquisition, this term is generally used to describe the consolidation of companies or asset, actually by using different types of transaction. And these consolidation are of different types, that might be called as merger, acquisition, consolidation, tender offers, purchase of asset, and also management acquisitions. And not only that, when we talk about merger and acquisition, this term can also used at the desk of financial institution that deals in these kind of activities. The term merger and acquisition are often used interchangeably, although when we in actually they hold slightly different meanings. When one companies take over another entity and establish itself as the new owner, the purchase is called as an acquisition. From a legal point of view, the target company ceases to exist. The buyer absorbs the business and the buyer's stock continue to be traded while the target company's stock cease to trade. But when, on the other hand, a merger describes two firms of approximately the same size who join forces to move forward as a single new entity rather than remain separately owned and operated. This action is known as merger of equals. Both companies' stocks are surrendered and new company stock is issued in its place. In case of when we talk about Daimler and Benz and Chrysler, ceased to exist when the two firms merged and a new company Daimler Chrysler was created. A purchase deal will also be called as merger when both CEOs agrees that joining together is the best interest of in the best interest of their companies. Now discussing that what is merger and acquisition and why companies want to adopt this concept and want to start these kind of activities. First of all, if you remember that in the strategic management you have discussed that at corporate level the companies can decide about different long-term benefits or different long-term choices of the business. So the when we talk about the organization direction of the organization direction, so in organization as a direction we discussed that the companies can choose to increase their operation or remain status quo or divest itself or shrink their operation. So in this kind of activities, they will select the first choice, that is that they want to grow their business, they want to increase their operations, because the company is doing very well and they are very profitable in certain areas, in certain business segments. Now they want to increase their activities, but in order to increase their activity they are choosing a merger and acquisition activity activity, because they want to pursue the growth option of the organization. Secondly, they want to achieve their business goals, because there might be certain goals that they want to expand their business, and obviously the main aim is to increase the profit, and they or want to build an empire of the business, or building a large empire of the different kinds of businesses of a same company, or have or want to dominate the market, or want to become the leader of the market, or want to become the, as I can say, dominate the market, because it will assure the survival of the business. But as we are talking about the corporation set of the business, in which your real owner are your shareholders, so whatever the companies are doing, their main aim is to increase the wealth of their shareholders. But if we and the phenomena of merger and acquisitive activities is is actually being observed in all over the world, and we can see their main, you can say, activity of this kind in Europe and in developed countries, as in early 1985, 1895 to 1920s in Europe, and is relatively, if you look into your developing countries, so this concept is flourishing in the developing country as well. If we can see all around us, we can see this kind of activity. For example, we can see many merger and acquisition in the medical pharmaceutical companies, and recently Uber and Kareem had their merger. Then Mobilink and Warid had their mergers. So their activities are now also flourishing in developing and underdeveloped countries. Okay, buy with build. When we talk about buy, that means that you will go for the option of merger and acquisition rather than building on your own capacity. You will go and buy the already established business or merge with already established business. And obviously, the allocation of resources to merger and acquisition increase growth opportunities, as it will help the organization to grow and path its way away, path it make its path to create profit, economic profit, provide returns to its shareholder. And those who do not grow tend to stagnate, and lose market share and profits as well, and destroy their shareholder value. Merger and acquisition play a very critical role in both sides of the cycle. They will enable the companies to be strong and strong enough against their competitors, and they can also increase a lot of opportunities for their people, and their improve the value of their shareholders. But apart from these opportunities, when you indulge into the activities of this buying option, that is M&A, that is merger and acquisition, so it also increase risk if you do not handle it properly, because it's something very important, and it's something very much delicate to handle, and it should be done with a very careful planning. It should be done with a very careful farsightedness. There are certain variables which which growing from the, because the merger and acquisition option can be opted by the companies who are growing. So they have to consider certain things while they go for, and then they are opting for merger and acquisition, or they are opting for building their own capacity. So these variables are discussed under this slide, that what are the variables which should be considered while you are you are actually in a very critical position of taking the decision that whether you go for merger and acquisition to pursue your growth opportunities, or whether you will go for your own building capacities. So we will discuss these factors one by one. First factor is competitiveness, fragmentation, and pace of your market place and industry. First of all, what is competitiveness? Competitiveness comes with your core competencies, and in order to increase your competitiveness, you can have to consider that what are the best option for you. For example, if you have core competency, and you think that your core competency can be enhanced by collaboration with certain other companies which are there, and which are willing to merge with you. On the other hand, if you don't want to share your core competency, or if you think that if you merge with other company, it will leak your important secrets, or your core competency would not be enhanced, so you will go for a building option. So it depends upon your competitiveness. Secondly, fragmentation is the state of your industry in which there are lots of small companies in the market, and there is no market leader. in that case, you want to dominate that market. In order to dominate that market, you can take or merge with few small companies to make a large company in order to dominate the market. And pace of your marketplace and industry. That pace of your marketplace means that with you see that at how much speed your customers are increasing, or whether your industry is at maturing stage or at a growing stage, because when you are in a growing stage, your customers are growing, so that you can get a quite lot of market share in that thing. So and in that scenarios, you can consider that whether you go for buying or you go for building your own capacities. Secondly, the access to and the cost of capital. The access to means that in certain case, in certain kinds of companies, or in certain kind of scenarios, some companies have this access to certain financial option. And obviously, when you are in the market, you can also raise shares. So with collaborating with the other company, you can generate more capital by less cost of cost incurring on that capital. Thirdly, the specific capacities of your management and advisory team. It's something very much important, because your management team is there to handle the later on scenarios and later on outcomes of the your decision. And your advisory team is there. They'll give you suggestions. They'll forecast the options you are considering and give you better suggestions that whether what would be the best scenario for you. And you have to see that what are their capacities, whether your management is able to handle all the outcomes of your decisions or not. And obviously for the advisory team. Then the next thing is the strength and growth potential of your current core competency. As we have discussed in the competitiveness, that core competency is very much important, because these are the things which you are doing better, and these are the assurance of your future profits. So if you think that the decision in merger will increase and give you very much growth of potential for your enhancement of your core of competency, so obviously you will go for buy option, and vice versa. Then next is the volatility and loyalty of your distribution channels and your customer. As you are working with the other company, if you are merging with other company, they have their own distribution channels and they have their own customer base, and you have their own customer base and your own distribution channels. First of all, you have to see that once you are moving from or collaborating with other company, so whether your distribution channels are loyal with you, that if they'll not switch to another company, or they'll not switch to buy another product if you are merging with certain other companies. So if they are loyal and they are not volatile, so it's a safe option to buy certain company or to merge with other company. But if you think that your distribution channels and customer base will not accept this decision, so obviously you will not go for buy option. The degree next is the degree to which speed to market and scale are critical in your business. When we talk about degree to which speed to market, means that in certain kind of company, a certain kind of product or service, you need consistently need R&D activities and you have to come as quickly as possible from lab to market, because there is consistently innovation in your industry. And if you do not do that, you will be thrown out of the market, and you have to be in line with your competitors. You have to give immediate response to them. So in this case, you need the capacities of the other company, because R&D activities are very much expensive. So in this case, you can go in and acquire different companies which have this capacity. Then the next thing is the degree to which your company operates in regulated industry. Regulated industry depends upon the rules and regulation of the market. If these rules and regulations are fair enough, or are supporting the merger and acquisition activity, so obviously it's very good that you go for that. But in certain companies, in certain areas, and for example in America and USC, there are certain antitrust regulations there. So in this case, you have to see see that whether there you can grow up to a optimal size on your own, or you'll go for a merger and acquisition. What factors have fueled and or give, I can say, resurgence of merger and acquisition activity? You cannot say that there is no one explanation. There are a number of reasons which can give rise to them to this activity or activity, and because there are certain themes and trends that have emerged, but there are certain reasons. We'll discuss the reason one by one. First of all, there are intentions of the companies to enter into new market or a new product line or increase distribution reach. So if you are working in a one in one market, so you want to extend your operation. So rather than going from scratch, you'll buy or you'll merge with certain firms which are working in different markets. The same goes with different product lines. You want to enter into different add to need different product lines, so you can purchase, acquire, or you can merge with companies which have already established consumer base and product line, or distribution reach. Obviously you can go for distribution. So in order to increase your distribution reach, you can also start these activities. Secondly, to acquire a company to access today's knowledge worker, because you want to obtain intellectual property rights, and many companies, many technological companies such as Cisco, Google, and Yahoo, they are pursuing acquisition as means to get employees in addition to the products and intellectual property. So it is also very much important that if you want to have knowledge workers, so you will acquire certain firms which will help you gaining that intellectual property and different virtual or knowledge workers. Thirdly, to increase financial resources, because if you are adding firm within your organization, so you'll also increase the source of financing with the help of that. So you will have more financial resources which will help you to increase your growth, or increase your motive of growth. Okay, next sector is that merger and acquisition are being driven in many cases by different trends. For example, rapidly changing technology, which is driving many of the deals in high technology companies, and fierce combination, which is driving many of the deals in telecommunication industry and banking industry, changing consumer preferences, which is driven many of the deals in food and beverage industry, and the pressure is of control cost, which is driving many of the deals in healthcare industry. So these are the different trends which actually being encouraging people to go for merger and acquisition. Nextly, some deals are motivated by need to transform corporate identity. It's something very much important. They want to you want to change your corporate identity, or you want to get benefit from the corporate industry and corporate image, or corporate name of any other company. If you see the example in 2003, a video game company Infogrames, for example, gained instant worldwide recognition by acquiring and adopting the old but famous Atari brand. Similarly, First Union adopted the brand of acquisition target Vekihovia in hopes of benefiting from Vekihovia's reputation of quality and consumer service. So if the previous band is very good, and it was it was being recognized by the people, but now it's something weak, or it needs some financial help, or it needs some benefit from you, so you will go for buying, or you can go for acquiring or merging with that companies. It will also boost, or also improve the name of the company, the current company who is acquiring the company which has a previous good brand name, in order to benefit from their corporate identity. Okay, the other factors is that if many companies who are who are making deals for merger and acquisition, are doing this in order to spread their risk or cost, because there are, when you are taking any bold decision and taking any decision which in which many new technologies are involved or new discoveries are involved, so you want some people along with you because you don't want to bear the risk yourself. For example, developing new technologies such as in the communication and aerospace industry, research into new medical discoveries such as in the medical device and pharmaceutical industries, or gaining access to new sources of energy such as in the oil and gas exploring and drilling industries. Or another thing is or developing an international presence and expanding the your market share. So all these decision need the decision has certain risk and cost involved, and you don't want to bear all that cost yourself. So in order to spread this cost, you will go for merger and acquisition. Okay, some of the other factors which fuel the emergence of more merger and acquisition activity are that many manager think that due to certain nature of the products or to the demand of the customer, they want certain kind of services and certain kind of product lines. They should want that the services, or you can say the product line, or the things which are related to related to a certain kind of industry and certain kind of consumer base. They want that kind of services in under one roof. So the merger acquisition are done. So in that case, they want the make in order to make the availability of these different product lines and services under one roof, they'll go for merger and acquisition. Then next thing is that nowadays there is a wave of globalization, and companies want to be show their presence in the international market. If you see, there are many companies who are working in Pakistan, and but they are working outside of Pakistan, because globalization is very much important. So in order to increase their global presence, the company the companies go for merger and acquisition. There are certain limitation in which certain companies cannot directly enter into that country. For example, if you see, there are many in India, there were very strict policies. So there are many Sri Lankan companies, they are not able to enter into the to India. So in order to enter in that, they merge with make collaboration and merge with certain Indian companies, so they can show their in order to show their presence in in India. So the reason might be this, why miss under the pursuing the policy of merger and acquisition. Lastly, when you buy or when you merge with other companies, so obviously you are buying their brand loyalty and customer relation as well, because apart from you are buying their or buying or merging with their physical assets, but there are many other assets, the intangible assets, which are very beneficial for the future. These are your customer loyalty and the relationship, which will be very beneficial because it will help in increasing your sale. Lastly, certain times it becomes necessary for your competition that you should buy certain firms in order to become the owner of the business which is competing with you. So it's due to competitive necessity, you can go for merger and acquisition. Why bad deals happen to good person, and what is the concept of discussing this? Because as we are discussing merger and acquisition, and merger and acquisition is a certain kind of activity in which you have to acquire or you have to merge with certain businesses which were already working, and you are acquiring that. So it's sometimes it's a very risky decision, and you have to have a very careful planning while taking decision. And you have, because this is a transition, you are merging your employees with the employees of the other company. You have to see the culture both companies have. You have to see that though both cultures are of a good match, or financial are strong on both sides of the deals are also very much important. And you have to develop a proper roadmap in which the new firm and engages both partners staff And the seller, you have to also consider that the seller should not walk away, or then many other things you have to consider while entering into the new deal. And as nobody ever want to plan to enter into bad deal, but many well-intentioned, many well-planned entrepreneur, planned deals by certain entrepreneur and business executives enter into merger and acquisition that later on fail or regret. So there are many mistakes which we have to understand, and we have to ascertain that what mistake we should avoid while we are heading towards merger and acquisition. First mistake, classical mistake, include lack of adequate planning. And why, what planning is, because you are making decisions. So I have discussed before that you have to see the both cultures of the both organization, because these both organization are going to merge each other. So whether it's a good match of both cultures or not, an overly aggressive timeline to close. This is also very important, that you need certain time, time, you have to give the time for this transition. But if you are making all these decision and all those activities very quickly, and you are making doing things very quickly, so it's actually make mess for you. A failure to really look at possible post-closing integration problems. Post-closing integration problem means that once you have integrated, once you have merged with each other, or once you have acquired the firm, so after that there are certain problems, and you haven't actually recognized those problems. Or worst of all, the projected synergies. Synergies means that you think that both companies separately, what they are producing, when you merge with each other, you will produce more than the combination of both the separate production. So and you are actually want to create synergy by merging with each other or by acquiring the other firms. So when you have projected, you have make too much, you can say, expectations with these synergies that were intended to achieve turn into be illusionary. So these are the main very classical problems. Secondly, for synergy can be deceptive, especially if there inadequate communication between buyer and seller. You see that when synergies are there and you are very much optimistic about the synergy, and you don't know certain features of the acquiring firm or merging firm, and both buyer and seller haven't communicated well, and a situation that usually lead to misunderstanding regarding what the buyer is really buying and the seller is really selling. So that is the main reason of, can say that, will lead to the failure of the acquisition. Nextly, every firm says that it wants synergy when doing a deal, but few take the time to develop transactional team, draw up a joint mission statement of the objectives of the deal, or solve post-closing operating or financial problem on the timely basis. Actually, when you are making a transition, so you have to give time to them. You are merging different culture, you are merging different people, you are merging different companies, you are actually merging different workplaces. So you have to give them time for transition, because these are people who have to know each other. They are using different resources, and now they are working with each other. Before that they were competing with each other, now they are working with each other. So you have to give proper time, and if you are not giving time, so obviously you will have to have problems, and you will never feel positive about the deal. So these are the different reasons which are the major cause of the outcome of your merger or acquisition. Bad organ bad outcome of merger or acquisition. Okay, the cyclical nature of merger and acquisition. And what is that cyclical nature of the merger and acquisition? And because this activity is driven by cycle both at macro level and micro level, the overall market driven by such factor as the availability of capital and state of the economy at a micro level, based upon where this particular buyer is, seller stand in their growth plans or in their life cycle. Some acquiring companies are early in the cycle and may be looking for their first major deal as a platform for addition acquisition, while others may be near the end of their cycle and are only looking for the smaller tuck-in transaction. Other buyers may now appear to be more like your sellers, since they are now in the phase of cycle where they have digest what they are purchased and are really are ready to divest themselves of asset which have not been strong fit or which have failed to meet their strategic objectives. The M&A cycle, strategic cycle, is some form mimics the human digestive cycle. Like for example, you plan your acquisition, you acquire that business, you can digest or amalgamate that business in your business, and evaluate that. And while you have make the transitions, and now you have to evaluate that whether this transaction has given the positive result or not, or not. And if you think that the desired outcomes are not there, so you can divest their investment and plan again for a new opportunity. So this cycle goes on and on and on.